A warm welcome to you wherever it is you are joining us from around the world. This is Enterprise Friday, reaching you from Enterprise Television from the economic capital of Nigeria. I am Henry Igwebike.
And I'm Choma Okohe.
All right, straight up, we'll be heading straight to our newspaper headlines for you this morning. And right after that will be our main conversation also for today. Please do well to be part of our community. Be part of what we do here. You can always reach and find us at enterprisetvnews.com. You may like, comment, and follow us on all our social media platforms at Enterprise TV 7. We have today in the studio Emeka Madunagu, journalist, public affairs analyst. He will be here to see through all that we have on our newspaper headlines. Good morning to you, Emeka, and welcome.
Hello, good morning. Good to be here.
Thank God it's Friday.
Yeah, thank God it's Friday.
Yeah. All right, let's kickstart today. Most importantly, today is World AIDS Day. And it's very important that we talk about that. And of course, we're kicking off with the Guardian newspaper for this morning. And below, on the bottom strip, that is, we have here, I'm trying to get it here. Okay, Amnesty International accuses police of killing 24 protesters in Kano and others.
Okay, moving on. Emphasis on individual success weakens political action, says Osibanjo.
We equally have here shun migration. Federal government tells the fresh foreign trade medical doctor. Do you think they would respect that?
Nobody. Definitely know that. Okay, moving on. Witness tells court how he collected $400,000 for Emefiele. Details are on page 7.
Okay, we also have global wages outgrowing inflation, says ILO.
Okay, let's look at the big story here because today is World AIDS Day.
Yeah.
And this particular story is on page 4 and 5, or pages 4 and 5. Rising spread, more HIV infected kids, slow race to zero scourge.
Yes, and there are lots of data here.
Yeah.
We have about 1,400,000 Nigerian children are currently infected by HIV. I also have 22,000 new mother-to-child transmission of HIV yearly in Nigeria. And a couple of other data here. Nigeria contributes 25% of the global burden of HIV mother-to-child transmission. Wow, this is alarming. Very, very alarming. Emeka Madunagu.
Yeah,
Should we be worried?
Yeah, HIV/AIDS no longer a focal point for government. There was a time government took it as a major, concern. But today, it's no longer the case, and that's why all the success is recorded in the prevention of mother-to-child transmission, PMTCT, some years ago, have been eroded. And it's very sad. Part of it, arises from the large-scale displacement of Nigerians, by intercommunal warfare, and banditry, insurgency. So you have millions of Nigerians in IDP camps, internally displaced persons camps, who don't live a regular life. And so, anything is possible in all of this in such places. Then the economic situation in the country predisposes people to, being unable to access medical care in good time because they can't afford, to pay for hospital cards. As low as 500 naira, they can't afford to pay for drugs, and they can't afford to even pay for tests. Something as simple as a cholesterol test, some places is 4,000, 5,000 naira, and so if you remove that from the income of the average Nigerian, they'll tell you, what is it? And something must kill somebody. Let me keep it. Now this 4,000 naira, I'd rather use it to eat.
I say it's the wish of God.
So, you see, and then at that time when, when HIV was, the focal point in the health administration in this country, even faith-based organizations actually also joined in the campaign. They did a lot to support the Federal Ministry of Health and the various WHO, the various health agencies and development partners. So what needs to happen is the government needs to get more interested in HIV. It has not gone away. It has not been eradicated. A cure has not been found for it. So we need to still be on the alert. We saw leprosy, for instance, that had been eradicated in many countries decades ago. But at the point, it was a problem in Nigeria.
And still is a problem.
Yeah, well, but the severity has been reduced. The severity, is much lesser. So, the only viral infection that the whole world has come together to eradicate is smallpox. But even at that, developed countries of the world are not resting on their laurels, so that it doesn't come back. Then other such infections, other such diseases like HIV/AIDS, needs to be, there should be vigilance, and then CSOs, civil society organizations, the media should assist government, in ensuring that access to medical treatment, access to drugs is, made more possible for the people, through maybe subsidies. Since we are removing subsidy from petroleum, removing subsidy from the naira, we can channel it into, for instance, drug production. Since we have many companies these days producing drugs, we can get some that actually can, if possible, produce those antiretroviral drugs in Nigeria. Otherwise, if we're still importing them, subsidize the importation, or otherwise, or even remove them from import duty lists.
Exactly, totally.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
very true.
Thank you.
Yes.
Without wasting much time,
Yeah.
let's get into the next daily on our decks, and that is the Daily Trust newspaper. And on the top strip, you see Nigerian slums in latest fever ranking. Nigerian slums in latest fever ranking.
And also we have Tinubu pitches investment in food security, solid minerals and others.
Okay, there's a sad story on the top strip. Abductors of toddler, siblings demand 300 million naira ransom.
And also we have court sacks a Benue APC caretaker committee, and that's on page 11 on the downstrip of the newspaper.
Okay, you see the big story here. Reps in rowdy session over tax reform bill. Proposal scales second reading in Senate.
And okay, our talking point today on the Daily Trust newspaper will be police killed 24 during the hashtag and bad governance protest and coming from Amnesty International.
Now, Mr. Mekamad Nago, the police killed 24 during the hashtag enters bad governance. Yes, according to Amnesty International. Now, how will Amnesty International be reporting this? But our own people haven't reported, or it's coming from any of our local people?
No. It's been in the media now that over 40 people were killed during the protests, and that is
the ones we can trace. Actually,
yes, we are still running a police force that still has this colonial mentality. You hear policemen telling you, journalists, you are the problems of this country. You talk against government as if it's better for them. I asked them a question. I said, I remember some years ago, when Lagos State Commissioner of Police, then Michael Kiro, he met with widows. There was a time armed robbery was so bad in Lagos. Many policemen were killed. So he met with widows of those policemen and their children, and you could see so many weeping children and all of that. So I spoke with one of the children, the son of one of the policemen, and talking about this and this, how things were this, blah 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 blah, and all of that, and I encouraged him. I think I even gave him some money. I don't even remember. A long time ago, and I encouraged him that he shouldn't allow his father's the killing of his father to deter him from doing his UTME and all of that. So but the idea that the police will go to the police station, you say the police is, although grammatically wrong, the police are your friends. But in reality, the average policeman is hostile. The average policeman is brought up, is trained in an environment, where he is an instrument of oppression, of repression, of extrajudicial killing, if possible. You hear policemen telling people, I'll waste you and nothing will happen. But the policemen, I've been to hospitals, even the way I saw policemen, guarding their children so adoringly. But the way they treat other people, as if they are not other people. So they are insulated from the feelings of the society. But their own children, they guard their own children so closely. So what it means is that something is missing. This psychological conditioning is wrong. Psychological conditioning that everybody in the society hates you as a policeman, wants you killed, wants you dead, wants you thrown out of your job, and which now brings that feeling of animosity, that aggressive, feeling. I remember one time I was coming with some of my friends were coming from a party. We got to a checkpoint. It was in the night. The policeman asked one of them, why are you looking at me like that? He asked him, he said, in this darkness. How did you see the expression of my face in this darkness? So, there is that tendency that the police must always find something, to pin on you. That has to be expunged from the curriculum of the, police college.
But don't you think it's very important at this point we differentiate the problems here and maybe narrow it to the systemic issue in the Nigerian police force? I stand to be corrected, but the much I know, most of the uniforms of the Nigerian police officials are bought by the Nigerian policeman himself. He kits himself, literally. The shoes he wears, he buys by himself. The belt, he buys for it. And so all of those things, why do you think that policeman won't unnecessarily be angry, knowing that what should be provided for him by the system, he gets for himself from the little mega salary?
But the question to ask is that the victim of your anger, is he or she better off? You are all victims of a rotten system.
So is it okay for us to maybe narrow the issue to those at the top echelon?
It is because, the part of the problem. You see, when you hear government, now they are talking of how many trillions, as budget. But the EFCC chairman came out the other day to tell us that in the last 20 years, that no budget had gone beyond 30% implementation. So the police will also suffer from it because that's why they have to sew their uniforms. That's why you see it's DPOs, who, get money one way or the other, extort suspects and all that, and get money to fuel the patrolmans, to run the generators in the police stations. As a matter of fact, it's so ridiculous to hear that police stations are placed on band E, the lowest band. Band E.
Because they can't pay.
So whether they have, you see, the police is not a business.
Exactly.
The police force is not a business about being able to pay or not. It's about the fact that the police essentially are in charge of, the primary agency in charge of internal security.
Essential service.
And you must accord them every necessary tool, whether uniforms, whether power supply, whatever. Pay their salaries on time, pay them good salaries, give them good allowances. Let them live in hospitable conditions. Not some of the barracks you see that. You just wonder, is this where policemen live? Or what do you expect from them? You see a lot of policemen into extortion. There was one case where they saw somebody with a laptop and, they tried to extort him. They took him to a market and forced him to sell the laptop. So when policemen engage in such heinous conduct, they will need to be alarmed. Because those policemen are taken from society. And when people get to such level of degeneration, the society is decaying.
No, at this point now, are we going to, looking at this policemen being able to get involved in this kind of heinous activities, where is the problem? Is it from the recruitment process or from the way they were trained, or is it in the system? Where did they get this corruption from?
Look, recruitment in the police force is one of the most ridiculous, one of the most corrupt in this country. It's about who you know. It's to the extent now that you saw how many times have you seen the IG, the fight, part also between the IG and the chairman, successive chairman of the Police Service Commission, over recruitment. Want to recruit 10,000 constables. You see power tussle. So it's about who you know, how much you can, which senator you know, which governor you know, then how much you can drop. So when you subject people through some, you see corruption, like Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, the Director General of the World Trade Organization, corruption is dangerous. Corruption kills. Corruption is worse than cancer. When you allow it to fester, it destroys the moral fabric of the society. And that is what you see with the police. These policemen don't just stand on the road to extort people, because you definitely know that they can be so bold, so present. Some of the money is going up somewhere. It's going up. It's not trickling. It's going up. So we must kill corruption. Otherwise, like former governor of Kaduna said, Madam Nasir, said, we don't kill corruption. Corruption will kill Nigeria.
Thank you so much, Emeka Madlang.
All right, finally and lastly, let's move to Vanguard newspaper for today. And we have the big story here. Tax reform bill offer 55% to states in new sharing formula.
Okay, polytechnic lecturers begin strike December 2.
And also we have on polytechnic lecturers begin strike. You've read that, isn't it? So Bode George tackles Onanuga for insulting Obasanjo.
Tinubu to Macron. A starved nation won't care about weather environment.
So that's our talking point for today. Emeka, let's look at that. Let's not forget President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and his wife, the First Lady, are currently still in France. For a state visit, and in that particular place he did mention this. Does it look like President Bola Ahmed Tinubu now cares about the needs of Nigerians, knowing that in the first place he was part of those who have created the problem that we have here, talking about starvation in the nation?
That's what we talk about. The absence of a strategic communication template. This is very embarrassing for a president who just came back from a climate summit in Brazil, where the Brazilian president, crafted a deal, for rich nations of the world, to provide certain sort of, reparations, quote unquote, in terms of climate. You just came back from it. You went to France, and you're just one sentence, you are repudiating that thing. It's part of the problem. One step forward, two steps backwards.
Okay, now
when you say a starving nation, is Nigeria starving?
Yeah.
Doesn't care about climate. Do you know the damage that climate change does to livelihoods, to farmers, to different businesses? Doesn't care about weather. If there is flooding, no, all the efforts of your farmers are wasted. If there is desertification like you have in the north, every effort of your farmer is gone. In a country like Nigeria, where we depend 90% on rain-fed agriculture, how do you hope to stave off starvation? It's some of these things that they don't even understand, some of these issues. They just get carried away because it's before a European president, a white man, and then he has forgotten that your messaging is as important as your message. How can you say, they will come back now. His aides will start defending. They'll start looking for how to change black to white.
Now,
they'll start telling us, sorry, that we're here.
I was about going there because I wanted to ask, who should be held responsible for his statement there? Is it his aides, those who actually put the writing into, who puts the paper together and actually wrote this for him? Because definitely the president can actually sit down to do the research by himself. And at this point, are we going to say that the president actually understood where he was going to and what was required of him before he delivered this particular speech?
My sister, let me tell you the truth. That's why I can't work for any politically exposed person.
Why?
No. Look, these people don't listen to advice. The aides may have, listed out talking points. But he just goes there. You see, my late Gio used to say something. Say this microphone is an affliction. Some people. And some people, when they hold this microphone, they may have articulated everything they will say, but when the microphone gets into their hands, they jump overboard and say something else. The aides may have actually listed our talking points, but look at what they say, that a starving nation does not. Look, a starving nation cares so much about the weather, about climate. It does, because it's very, very important. The rich nations in the US, they subsidize cotton farmers. Rich nations can actually pay huge subsidies to their farmers to make sure that agricultural production and agro-processing are sustained, to make sure that the prices of food items and cultural produce remain at agreeable levels, affordable levels. But poorer nations cannot afford that. We are battling with subsidy on petrol, battling with subsidy on naira. That's why we floated the naira. No. But instead, the naira plunged into the pit. Instead of finding a level like the IMF said, it plunged into the bottomless pit. Now, that statement, of course, is lacking in any form of intellectual comprehension. It is very wrong. It is ridiculous. It's embarrassing. And the presidency should quickly issue a statement to, address that, because it's embarrassing. What it shows is that you are not to be taken seriously. At climate events, you are not to be taken seriously, because since you just care about starvation, so what it means is that you can even eat your fellow human beings. But you must care. You must care. Nigeria is suffering gully erosion. We're suffering from flooding. Even it was the same Tinubu who went to Brazil and said that one of our problems is flooding. You've gone to France, you are saying the opposite. It's sad though.
Thank you so much.
Very sad. Very truly sad. What can we say?
We hope that those in the president, those who are leaders, actually get to understand what is at stake and go out there and represent us well.
Yes,
because at this point, some persons were actually crucifying Davido a few days back.
Yeah, exactly. For saying that Nigeria is in shambles, and right now he's saying a starving nation. Which one is worse than the other?
So we never can tell. Okay, thank you so much, Emeka Madnago, for your time. Thank you for doing this with us, and we hope to have you on our main conversation.
Yes, definitely.
And when we return, and Tax Reform Committee calls for overhaul to ease burden on small businesses and to protect the poor. We'll be right back. Please stay with us.